Hi, friends. Welcome back. Today, I want to tell you about a rainy day in April in 2018. We were burying my father, and I was just trying to get through it. That's the only goal that you have at a funeral, right? Like, just make it through. Try to keep breathing, stay present, don't fall apart in front of everyone who came to say goodbye. And then I looked up, and there were fire trucks parked along the cemetery road, men in dress uniforms standing at attention in the rain. A full honor guard from the city fire department, the department that my dad had served for 20 years, standing there in the rain for a man who had been retired for years. Nobody called them. Nobody coordinated this. You see, my dad was not that guy. He wanted everything plain and simple. That's part of the reason why he wanted to help plan his funeral. He didn't want there to be any upsells at the last minute. He wanted to make all the decisions ahead of time and prepay. And he didn't want fuss and fanfare. But someone from the fire department, they had read his obituary in the newspaper, and they just came. I want to tell you about the man that they came for and what he gave me that I'm still living on today. My dad was a firefighter for 20 years. And before I tell you about the end of his life, I want to tell you about the middle of it, because that's where you find out who someone actually is. He was responsible. He was kind. He was honest in the way that people who have nothing to prove are honest, not harshly, just cleanly. He had integrity in a way that does not announce itself. It just shows up in every small decision over a lifetime until the pattern is unmistakable. I was a daddy's girl, if you can't tell already. I was a daddy's girl. From the time I was small, I never once doubted that my father loved me. Not once. That's not a small thing. And I didn't understand how not small it really was until I was much older. But I got to grow up with a bedrock certainty of being loved by my father, and I didn't take a single day of that for granted. I followed him in ways I didn't fully understand until I was looking back. I went to nursing school. I was a caregiver. The showing up for people in the hardest moments, the belief that the most important thing you can do in your life is to be present for people who need you, that was his. And it became mine. In a few minutes, I'm going to tell you about the 5 months between Thanksgiving of 2017 and April of 2018, and what they gave me that I would not trade for anything. So stay with me, okay? He came for Thanksgiving in 2017, and something was wrong. I could see it immediately. This man, who had always seemed steady and capable, something had shifted. He was not taking care of himself in the way that he should have, in the way that he always had. He was not managing things the way that he used to. And it wasn't for lack of trying. I was already lined up for a new promotion, already carrying the weight of all the years before that I had not dealt with, already stretched thin in ways I was not fully admitting to myself. And I looked at my dad at that Thanksgiving table, and I just knew he could not go back home. He could not go back to living alone on 40 acres of land, not anymore. So we got him to stay with us until the new year. And in the new year, he was ready for some privacy. So in January, we helped get him moved into an assisted living apartment. I spent weeks getting things ready, trying to get him ready, making it feel like home for him, making sure everything was in place, making sure that he had what he wanted, which was his independence. And I wanted to honor that for him. But his little girl, me, I also needed to know that he was safe and he was close. So he moved in, and almost immediately, the hospitalizations started. In and out, each time a little harder to come back from. A stint in a rehabilitation hospital, and he was so mad that they would wake him up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day. Not to get up, just to wake him up. He was so mad. and then home, and then back again to the hospital. I was making decisions that I had never made before about his health, about his care, about what would come next, and doing it as a daughter, not just as a nurse. Those are two very different things. The nurse in me knew what the clinical picture would look like, but the daughter in me kept hoping that the clinical picture was all wrong. My dad had strong opinions about being in the hospital. Specifically, he had a strong opinion that he should not be there and wanted everyone to know it at all times. He was not what you would call a cooperative patient 100% of the time. We have that in common, actually. Strong opinions part for sure, maybe not the hospital plan part. At the end of March, we finally brought him home on hospice to my house where he had spent so many holidays, where Garrett had grown up, where they had played basketball in the driveway, where he had watched football and basketball games on the couch with his little man. My dad died that April in the place where the people who loved him the most could be with him. He was there, and then he wasn't. That's the only way I know how to describe it. One moment, and then the absence of that moment. And the world just keeps going around you as if something enormous didn't just happen. I want to say something to anyone who is in a caregiving season right now. The decisions you are making, the hard ones, the ones where you're not sure if you got it right or not, the ones that you will replay over and over later, those decisions are being made by someone who loves the person they are caring for. And love is the most important qualification. You are doing the best you can with what you have, and that is enough. It has to be enough because it is all any of us ever have to give. We buried my dad 5 days later. It was a rainy morning. Rain at the graveside service kind of feels like the sky is participating, like the weather understood what the day really was about. Friends were there, family was there, the people who had known and loved him. And I was just trying to stay present, trying to get through it in the way that you do when the grief is so large that you can't look directly at it. But then I looked up. The fire trucks were there, lined all the way down the road. The men in their dress uniforms, standing at attention in the rain. The city fire department in full for my dad. Nobody had called them. Nobody had coordinated this. They had read his obituary in the newspaper. They came in the rain, in their uniforms, to stand at attention for a man who had retired many years before, because 20 years of showing up for a community does not expire. 20 years of running into burning buildings when everyone else is running out does not get forgotten. 20 years of service leaves something behind that outlasts the service itself. I stood there in the rain and I thought, this is who he was. This is the life he built, not in titles or recognition or things that could be taken away, but in showing up every single day for 20 years until the community that he served showed up for him on that rainy day because they had read his name in the paper and they just came. I've never been more proud of anyone in my life. My dad never once made me doubt his love, and I have spent a lot of time thinking about what that actually gave me. It gave me a reference point, a standard, an answer to the question of what love that shows up actually looks like. Love that says the right things, love that comes to the game, love that comes closer when things get hard. Love that reads your obituary in the paper and drives to the cemetery in the rain. Everything I do, the nursing, the coaching, the caregiving, the showing up for women in their hardest times, this channel, my blog, everything has his fingerprints on it. I learned from him that the most important thing you can do is to be present for people when they need you. That showing up quietly and consistently over time is not small. It's everything. And I want to pass that forward the way that he passed it to me, not in a speech, but in how I live. Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. I gave that verse to Garrett at his graduation, and I believe my dad lived it, maybe without ever saying it. Every day of his life, he trusted the path. He showed up for the work. He left something behind that nobody could ever take away. That is the inheritance I am carrying forward, and it's the one I want to leave behind. A rainy April morning, fire trucks along the cemetery road. Men in uniforms standing at attention for a retired firefighter they read about in the newspaper. Nobody asked them to come. They just came because he had shown up for them, for the community, for 20 years. And that does not expire. I think about that a lot when I wonder whether what if I am doing matters, whether showing up for this channel, for the women who watch it, for the work that I do in helping people find their way, is it worth the effort? And then I remember my dad in those stands watching Garrett play basketball with a smile on his face. I remember him at the graduation party being completely ridiculous at the photo booth props we had. Oh, that was the best picture. And I remember the fire trucks in the rain. Showing up quietly and consistently over time is not small. It's the whole thing. And it leaves something behind that outlasts you. So I want you to drop a comment and tell me this. Who in your life showed up for you in a way that my dad showed up for his community? Quietly, consistently, without needing credit for anything? Just name them, because the people who shaped us deserve to be remembered out loud. So again, write it in the comments if you feel comfortable. Put a code word in there. We're good with that here. Or just say it out loud. Subscribe to this channel if it's resonating with you. There's new video every week. I'm not going anywhere. I hope you'll come back. But until then, I want you to keep going because your next chapter is worth it.